Hello everyone, I am Naimul. I'm glad to present our paper, DramatVis Personae, Visual Text Analytics for Identifying Social Biases in Creative Writing. My co-authors are Bhavya Ghai and Nicholas Ellenquist. This work focuses on creative writing or the production of written artifacts capturing the narrative, such as a fiction, short story, or book reviews. Historically, minorities have often been portrayed in stereotypical form, such as the portrayal of masculine man versus homely women, or the portrayal of studious Asian person. Such portrayals can further reinforce stereotypes in the society and discrimination against minorities. Change is coming with various organizations, institutes, and the publishing community working continuously to raise awareness against biases. For example, the Gina Davis Institute regularly publishes reports of gender and racial representation in Hollywood and foreign creative materials. Twitter hashtag Own Voices promotes writers from marginalized groups who write about their own community. Professional writers now seek feedback from sensitivity readers, a group of readers who especially look for harmful stereotypes before the material is published. Computational methods such as natural language processing has been used to measure stereotypes in large-scale corpus of creative writing. In this paper, we tackle two research questions. The first one is how writers tackle biases that may be nuanced, complicated, and intersectional being propagated in their writing. And the second, how can computational support help them in this regard? To inform our research, we conducted semi-structured interviews over video conferencing software with 9 creative writers. Our participants varied in terms of gender, race, age, and experience in writing creative materials. I'll now present some findings from the study. One critical challenge for writers is to ensure that characters representing minority groups have impact in the story and are not sidelined. For example, W3 or Writer 3 provided a famous plotline from Green Lantern comics where the Green Lantern comes home to find that his girlfriend has been murdered and shoved into a refrigerator. And the only reason that the women existed was to be killed. Unfortunately, this kind of killing of female characters to advance the man's plot is very common. Another form of bias that the writers were concerned about is how minority characters are described in the story. For example, writer 1 and writer 2 mention that female characters are often described as homely, beautiful, and sacrificial, while W7 mentioned that East Asian persons are often portrayed as grumpy old people. The formative study identified that constant self-evaluation is a mentally demanding task. It is difficult to perform as the story becomes larger and complicated. Further, the characters may take intersectional identities, making it hard to track them. Based on that, we identified 6 design needs to support writers in bias mitigation, including the need to track presence of characters and social identities, interactions between them, their actions and descriptions. We also identified need for writing and critical reading. We decided to design a visual analytics system to support writers in bias mitigation. The overarching goal of the tool is to support N1 or N6 or the design needs identified from the formative study. We decided that the tool should avoid any explicit recommendation to reduce biases. This is because we realize that writers may write about discrimination intentionally, and we don't want to prevent them from that. We also did not want the tool to become an easy way to write about cultures without writers really investing efforts to learn about them. Thus, we decided the nature of the tool should be exploratory. We also decided that our tool should be inclusive and support social identities of any kind. Finally, our tool should use easy to understand visualization. The central component of our tool or the DBP tool is a text editor. A user can write on that editor or paste written text into the editor. As the user writes in the editor, the characters in the story are automatically detected in the system and all the relevant visualization are updated accordingly. The characters and demographics panel list all the characters identified by our system. A user can merge different names together. For example, Aurora and Princess are the same character. We can drag Princess to Aurora and merge them together. Each character in this panel has a drop-down named Demographics. Using this drop-down, a user can add any social identities to the characters. The timeline plot visualizes the presence of characters in the story. Each tile in this timeline represents a passage in the story. A user can hover over any tile to see relevant passages. This is an example timeline showing the presence of three intersectional identities, male white, male African American, and female white in the movie The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Notice that while male characters are present throughout the story, whereas there is a lack of interaction between male African American and female white characters. Our interface includes impact graphs that show interactions between characters. We also use word clouds to show verbs and adjectives used for characters and social identities. We evaluated DBP in two parts. First, we conducted Think-aloud session with 3 writers to understand the potential of DBP as a writing tool. Second, we conducted a follow-up user study with 11 writers to identify the benefits of DBP in comparison to a simple text editor. In the Think-aloud session, we asked writers to write a new story or analyze a story written by them. Overall, writers thought the tool is easy to use. The process of assigning social identities to characters helped them think about the portrayals from the beginning. Writers also thought the tool would be useful for teaching and learning. Finally, they found some errors in the identification of the characters using our system. We then conducted a user study including 2 conditions: a simple text editor without any support for bias mitigation, and our tool. We also used 2 newly written stories for the study. We asked writers to answer bias-related questions using the 2 interfaces. For example, some example questions include: which of the following characters has the least presence in the story? Which of the following 2 characters or social identities has least interactions between them? How would you categorize the portrayal of female characters in the story? Overall, participants were largely accurate while answering the questions using our tool. They spent less time using our tool. They reported less workload while using our tool. And finally, our tool did not warrant any extra usability issues. Our work showed how AI can be used for social good, even for a sensitive domain such as bias mitigation. In the future, we intend to evaluate DBP, how DBP can help writers writing a full-length story. We also intend to resolve limitation of the underlying AI, such as the possibility of bias models and supporting languages other than English. Thank you.